Hi, everyone. I was talking to Pep the other day, and something in our conversation prompted me to realize that I had never actually posted a collection video. It's not a particularly large or impressive collection, but it will take me probably 3 or 4 videos to show you all of it. But I wanted to start with the first installment, I guess, and I wanted to start with, since I sort of have them organized in 2 groups, warmer weather and colder weather. I wanted to start with the warmer weather first. So just to begin, I'm sort of showing you in the order that I have them all lined up in my little bookshelf where I keep them. The first one is something I don't think I've ever reviewed. Some of these I will have reviewed, some of them I will have not. It's Citiver from the house of Duetto Parfums. This is a really nice, just citrusy vetiver. I think that's probably what the name stands for. It's refreshing. It's nice. It doesn't last terribly long, but they made a couple of not flankers, but imitations of Tom Ford stuff, Golden Boy, and this is one that doesn't get too much play. It's really nice though. Great for warmer weather. The second one is one I don't think I have to describe too much, Dior Homme Sport. I smelled this in Ulta one day, one of my only locations where I can actually smell anything like this without having to drive for an hour and a half, and liked it more than I thought I would. So I got on eBay one day and bought it. Sort of nice, citrusy, clean. Some people say they don't smell iris in this, but I do get a little bit of powderiness in it. It's nice. Next one is Guerlain Homme, and this is the intense version. Yeah, with the black bottle. Guerlain Homme Intense. It's that one with lime, mint. What else? Maybe a little bit of sugar. People say it smells like a mojito. A little bit, maybe. It's a little bit on the synthetic side, which I wasn't really expecting from Guerlain, but hence I don't wear it very, very regularly. I've come to find that Atelier Cologne does scents like this much better and much more naturally, even though they have about maybe a third of the lasting power. I'd prefer the natural smelling stuff over the staying power, so I tend to wear my Cedrat Enivrant, which I have reviewed, which smells a bit similar to this, but much better because it smells much more natural, quote unquote. Recently, Pep put up a video about a collaboration video about everyone's favorite scent discoveries of 2017, and this is what I talked about. It's from the house of Houbigant. It was a blind buy for me, but I had heard so many good things about it in several different reviews. It is the first fougere in the history of perfumery, and just really green, a little bit spicy, sophisticated, nice, playful, not loud, not gross, not obnoxious, but also a little bit persistent on the skin. It's very nice. As you can see, I've only had it for about 4 or 5 months, and it's looking like it's almost, well, it's more than halfway gone. So, with Christmas coming up, I might have to treat myself to a second bottle of this. Now, at the same time I blind bought Fougere Royale, I also bought this, also by Houbigant. By the way, these have these wonderful, if you're a packaging person at all, these 7-pound caps. Okay, they're great. You could probably really put some hurt on someone if you threw this at someone. But this is Cologne Intense. You can see from the level of the bottle, I don't care for this one as much. It has what I call a pretty noticeable licorice or anise seed or fennel note It is kind of green, kind of still nice for warm weather, but that licoricey thing is just not really my taste. So I don't really reach for this one as much. Next, I guess this would maybe go for cold and warm weather. This is Tuscany Promo by Aramis, I think makes this, right? I think everyone smelled Tuscany. It's a big, spicy, fougere. It's not, I don't think it's quite as loud and obnoxious as it used to be maybe 25 years ago, but it's still pretty bold on the skin, and you might smell 10 or 20 years older just by virtue of wearing it in public. It's nice. It's got that typical sort of late 70s, early 80s sort of spicy fougere construction, citrus, and then lots of spices and those huge note breakdowns with lavender and anise seed and coriander and pepper and basil and everything. I don't know. For some reason, it just smells a little bit nostalgic. I'm not old enough for it to smell nostalgic, but it does. Next, a few Guerlains. First is the Vetiver, just the eau de toilette. This is called by that famous perfumer guy whose name is currently skipping my mind. He called it the reference vetiver. It's a little mature, but obviously that hasn't stopped me. It's a little medicinal. It's very, very dry. It's very, very parched, but in heat, it's nice. It's very nice. Next is another Guerlain. This is Abbé Rouge. This is the EDP. I have never smelled the EDT. I bought this in a phase when I thought that the EDP would just necessarily be better because it was the more concentrated form. I might actually try to get my hands on the EDT after I finish this, because I've since learned that's not at all necessarily the case. But this is really nice. This smells sort of dusty to me. It smells like dusty vanilla and lavender and like a woody base. It also smells a bit makeup-y to me. I don't know if that's due to iris or not, but it's really tough to put my finger on, especially since I can't compare it to the EDT, which I can for this next scent. This is really interesting stuff. I've never really smelled anything quite like it. Next, we have the old bottle. I think they just recently discontinued these bottles, and you can see there's not much left. This is Héritage by Guerlain. This is the EDT. And I know Pep, speaking of Pep, he is a huge fan of the EDT. And I think he's asked in videos before what the difference between the EDT and the EDP is. And I'll explain that right now, since the next one that's coming up is the EDP version. This is, to my nose, it's sparkly, it's aldehydic, it's woody, it's quite masculine, but there are floral notes in it, but they tend to be masculine floral notes, like carnation. But here, what you get most, what the most wonderful part of this fragrance is, I think, is that sparkle, that sort of aldehydic thing, and this slight citrusy quality that you get on the top. When you compare that to the EDP, it's almost like another fragrance, really. This is I got this in the new bottle. This is missing all of the sparkle. It's missing all of the citrusy like stuff at the top. And it's basically all of what you get in the middle of the base of the EDT is pretty much what you get all the way here. It's that woody, dark, dry, sort of part lacking any sort of dimension or sweetness. A nice idea, which I've tried a couple of times and it ends up working really well, is to layer this. Spray this first on your skin and spray the EDT over it. So you get the benefits of both the lasting power, but also the sort of sparkly citrus-like stuff. That works really well. But I need to obviously buy another bottle of the EDT first. Just 3 more for installment 1. Okay, I think this is another one that everyone recognizes. They don't drop it. This is sartorial. This is probably my favorite thing I've ever smelled from Penhaligon's. It is very, very, very reminiscent of a tailor shop, an old-fashioned tailor shop. There is a sort of a beeswaxy thing. There's a steam. I don't know how you can make a steam note. That doesn't make any sense to me, but for some reason, Bertrand Duchefort can make it work, and he does. There's also hints of different kinds of cloth, and some very, very, very gentle metallic notes that sort of round it all out, but it's not a metallic fragrance at all. It's just a very nice fougere, and it has a great deal of lasting power. If you're in the market for a barbershop-like fragrance or a fougere that's not spicy but still very nice smelling, very more creamy than spicy, I would say. Check this out if you haven't smelled it. And if you haven't smelled it, what are you doing? Get out from under your cave and go smell this stuff. Okay, the last 2 are 2 by the house of Hermès. The first one is, can you see that? It's Eau d'Hermès. This one doesn't get a lot of talk at all in the community. I think I saw Lanier Smith do a review on it a couple of years ago, but other than that, no mention whatsoever. This is from the 50s. I think this is the first fragrance that Hermès ever released. I want to say it's 1955 or 1952, and I think the perfumer responsible for it is the great Edmund Rudnitska, who did a lot of work for Dior back in the 40s. To me, this is a very dry, dusty, somewhat vanillic, somewhat leathery fragrance. It's very interesting. It's soft on the skin. It's a bit muted, but lasts a while. And it has this soft, dusty, slight powderiness to it that is very interesting. You might think from the name, from the O, that it is just this big citrusy thing. It's not at all. It has citrus elements in it, but it's much more about dustiness, vanilla, and other stuff. It's if you ever get a chance to smell it, I'm not saying you'll like it, but you should definitely smell it, simply because of the fact that it's something that's made by Edmund Rudnitska, who is no longer with us, and that it's Hermès's first fragrance. And this is something much in the same line, but I would say a little bit smokier and a little bit bigger on the leather. This is Equipage. I don't know why I'm taking the caps off. Maybe just to smell them. This is Equipage by Hermes. I've had this for a couple of years and am obviously, you can tell by the level there, kind of perplexed as when to wear it. It smells like, just like Eau d'Hermes does, it smells like it's from a different age. And because of that, I always feel a little out of place wearing it. And to be honest with you, I haven't fallen in love with either of them, even though I like both of them. So my relationship towards these two bottles is a little bit interesting. But I think this was made in the 80s or 90s, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't remember who made it. But it has a lot in common with Eau d'Hermes. It's got that dusty, ever so slightly metallic, vanillic, and a little bit of leather thing going on. Later in my collection, when I get over to the warm weather fragrances, you'll see one of my favorite Hermes fragrances, which is Bel Ami, which I wear whenever it's really, really, really cold outside because it is a big, big fragrance. But this is episode 1 for warm weather fragrances, and I will do episode 2 sometime in the future. I will see all you guys later. Look forward to reading comments and all that good stuff. Bye.